Hey, Coach.
Wayne, what's up? You brought
Hey.
your beautiful partner.
Well, I thank you. Yeah, well, we've spent a lot of time following the trips around the country, and I noticed,
It's my first time seeing her at a press conference.
well, we've got to get depth
I
and
like
game
it.
experience into the transfer portal here. What does the Lakeland mean on the front of your shirt?
Just a little town that's near here that my great grandfather, Pleasant Brown, was one of the founding fathers of, right near campus. So my other shirt was a little sweaty, so I just put this one on.
How much input do you have into all that great Terp swag that you wear?
Very little.
Really?
Very little.
Yeah, well, whoever does it matches you up pretty well.
Thank you.
What's your relationship with Geroy Simon coming back, and how does that affect the NIL and your over budget and who gets recruited here?
Yeah, I mean, G-Roy's role for us is he's been the guy that's our capologist, the guy that manages the whole numbers involved with the cap. I've got Brian Griffin and Mercy Falaise, who both are part of building my roster. G-Roy, because of his experience of being a general manager in the Canadian Football League and one of the Terp greats, has been a great addition to what we've done and how we've built our rosters over the years. His ability to evaluate, to have another set of eyes. So what he's been able to do is make sure I stay within the cap or within the range that I will have to build a team starting July 1. We've been resourced over the years to compete. Now with this cap thing and ability to shrink to where we all are playing with the same type of resources, as I like to say, we'll get to see who will coach now.
The quarterback competition played out in the spring, specifically as it relates to Malik, what has stood out the most about him to you?
Good question. The quarterback competition is obviously ongoing. I thought they all did some things this spring, whether it's Justin Martin and his acclimation to our system. Malik is a true freshman coming in early and being able to grasp it quickly, and then even to see Khristian Martin today, the guy that's been in the system the longest, to see him be able to operate things at a pretty decent level. So love the way that all of those guys have progressed this spring. In relation to Malik, I've said it many a times. I think the thing that really stands out is the maturity that he shows. Due to, even though he has a lack of experience in our system, he doesn't have a lack of experience in managing a team, managing offenses, building. He did a tremendous job as a guy at Archbishop Spalding and elevating that program. I've seen him come in here and be really comfortable with being able to come in and pick up the things that we've asked him to do. And looking forward to seeing his progress over the course of the next 2 to 3 months.
What's the amount of extra work, if there is, as an offensive staff with a new coordinator and
I didn't
getting a
hear
new
what you
quarterback?
start over. What'd you say?
What's the amount of extra work, if there is any, with a new staff, new offensive coordinator, and as you can seek a new quarterback to get that all right?
There's not a lot of extra work. The system is the same system that we've run, as we've always talked about. Pep obviously will put his personality on it. There's some language differences that, with the new people, they're all learning it for the first time, so I don't think there's been any added work. I think what we've seen is the elevation of how the quarterbacks are being developed with a guy like Pep, who's got a pedigree, having coached Andrew Luck in college and then in the pros. You had Alex Smith with the 49ers. You had Justin Herbert with the Chargers, a well-experienced guy that knows what it takes to develop a young player quickly. And so I've been really pleased with the way that they've progressed under Pep's leadership.
Hey, Coach. I know obviously you just talked about the quarterback room, but just kind of big picture. I know spring, it's kind of a chance to get a lot of the new guys in, get them kind of acclimated and whatnot. But just big picture, what you can coaches. What do you feel like you maybe learned about this team? Whether roster size or just kind of how where you guys are right now.
Again, I said this going into spring. Maybe you guys don't believe me. All I wanted to do was get through the spring with the installations of our systems. There's a lot of moving parts. We're a really young team. Going into June 1st. I won't know who my team is until they report here June 1st. And we'll have some young guys coming in from high school. The portal closed yesterday, and as we always say, the portal giveth and it taketh, and we've added some pieces, we've lost some pieces, and what we'll do now is kind of add and subtract things, put our roster together. And most of the team building, most of what we know and learn about our team will take place in June, July, August, and then we'll go see and go see what it looks like come September.
You've had a lot of turnover from last
What's
year.
your name?
Jonah.
Jonah, what's up?
You had a lot of turnover from last year's defense to this year's defense, staff, and roster. The 3 guys drafted today. What's the one thing you're really looking forward to from now until fall camp for the unit just to gel
For the
together?
defensive unit,
Yeah.
I mean, again, what we've done this spring is install the system that Coach Monachino has brought in, and it fits. Again, when I've talked about, we've had coordinator changes here before, and the systems don't really change because it's the Maryland system. And what Ted does is exactly what Pep has been able to do, is to bring things that we didn't have in the package and add to it. And if you look at Ted's background with the Ravens and Atlanta Falcons and the Indianapolis Colts, he's been in this system or versions of it. He's been able to add some things. I think what I'd like to see, obviously, moving into the summer, is for the guys to really get an understanding of exactly what it is that we're asking of them in this system. And so far this spring, I've been really pleased with the way they've progressed.
Yeah, Jalen's one of the few guys starting from last year to this year. What does his presence mean being that senior in the room, especially in that DB room? That's a lot of change back there.
Yeah, I mean, change is inevitable. You have to deal with it. But for Jalen Husky, a guy that played corner for us, we moved him to the safety position, during the season a year ago, and I think you're really starting to see him very comfortable at playing in that deep part of the field. And a lot like what Glenn Miller was able to do as a transition. He's a guy that has corner skill set while playing in the deep part of the field, which allows us a lot more versatility because he can play man coverage, he can cover slots, he can cover tight ends, and that adds value to our defense when you have a safety that has that ability to match up the way Jalen allows us to. But I think the biggest thing is that he's really got confidence. And a year ago, early on, he was tested, and I just saw the kid keep battling. Very similar track to what I saw to young guys like Deontay Banks and Tarheeb Steele, how they started out rough early in their careers, but as they earned those calluses and they got those scars, you started to see the ability, and we saw that out of Jalen Husky this spring.
George.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
George, what's up?
Good to see you. Culture, of course, a big component of your program, and to a man down there, all those guys, even guys that have only been here a few months in this program, talked about, yeah, we're hanging out, we're getting to know each other. From your angle and watching these guys develop in the time you've had the spring camp, how have you seen that culture come together, and is it being player-led like it's something you wanted to see happen?
I said this at the beginning of the spring, and for me, a guy that takes pride in having won in the locker room for most of my career. A year ago, I didn't, and it's teaching lessons to. I always equated to teaching guys how to fish, and with the new landscape and the change that came with it, I found myself maybe not having that locker room the way I have, and it all starts with trust. And now when you start throwing the new landscape into the mix, and a lot of voices in players' ears about value and what they think value is, for me, it's winning that locker room back. But it starts with them. I mean, they have to win their locker room. They have to control the messaging in their locker room. It's my job to set the course, the vision, the alignment, and I've been really pleased with the way some of the new guys have come in, and not with a lot of talking, but just the way they come in and work and the things they brought to the table. And I also have a lot of respect for what some of the older players who, much like me, are dealing with this transient landscape of the locker room, but it's the world we live in. Hence why I say until June 1st when we get them all in here, and that's where we'll really try to speed up the process of team building. But I think we've gotten off to a good start because I think this team understands that what happened last year is a byproduct of the locker room, and we all have our part to fix it, and we've set out to do just that.
Coach, just depending on who was on the field at the time, which quarterback, was that, when it comes to play calling, were you trying to see certain things based on who was on the field, or is it just regardless of what quarterback was on the field?
We had a base game plan, like the same calls for everybody on the sheet. Pep called the game, both sides, so I think we just saw consistently us try to call things that allow our players to just run, block, catch, tackle, throw, and kick. Like it wasn't about scheme, it wasn't about trying to outmaneuver or trick people. I just wanted to see guys go play the game in its purest form in a spring kind of concept. It wasn't a game, wasn't a scrimmage. I was pleased with it.
And then also at the end with the play with Malik Washington when he just got sacked, quote unquote, and ended the game. But you saw everyone was fired up about the play, whether they're on the white team or red team. Even though it's a spring game, even though it's not technically the real rules where you can't tackle the quarterback, how cool is it to see everyone so fired up for a play that in the win-loss record doesn't have an impact, but they just want to go out there and win?
Yeah, I saw that same joy when Khristian Martin was named MVP. I think this team understands that we need everybody to be at their best when their numbers call. I think Malik Washington, again, I'm not here to put the pressure on him, but I know he's built for the pressure that comes along with competing to be the starter. Been really pleased with Justin Martin and his transition and what he's been able to do. He started off a little slow early, but I love the way that he finished in the second half, a couple of good drives. And then to see Khristian be able to execute it, really gives me hope that that room will be able to be good enough to give us chances to win.
Thank you.
You're right.
Mike, you mentioned the transfer portal giving and taking. You have 4 months until the season opener. Is there enough time to sort of rebuild the depth that you lost through the transfer?
I mean, I don't know if you follow us. We signed 32 players, so half our team's not here yet. So if you look at the recruiting process, we got a bunch of guys coming. Depth won't be an issue.
What about in terms of just restocking kind of the game experience?
You can't restock game experience. You have to get game experience, and that's my job, to get these young guys ready to play the way we practice.
Coach, we're in an atmosphere where spring games are starting to decline, coming right off of it. What do you feel the value is of this game, and is the team going to continue to implement it moving forward?
Yeah, this game for us, I call it a showcase more than a game. You saw interceptions, the ball come back. I had us on a pitch count. I knew how many reps I wanted to see certain players get. I wanted to see us run, block, catch, tackle, throw, and kick. Will we continue it? I'll have to see how the landscape continues to change. And will always, the benefit for us was I got to see players in front of a group of fans go play out and execute the stuff that we asked them to. I was pleased with what we did today.
Take two more, Wayne, then Colin.
Hey, Coach, what have you seen from Octavian this spring, and maybe his prospects to be kind of the lead guy in the wide receiver room?
Well, I've seen him grow up. And we've needed Ock to do that. He's a guy that has kind of followed along that Ty Felton path, where as a freshman he contributed, big catch in the bowl game as a true freshman. Year 2, his catches went up, his numbers went up, his reliability went up, showing up for the things he needs to do to be a better player. His junior year, he's really grown, and now he's the guy that's kind of the old man in the room per se, and I like what I'm seeing out of Octavian. We all know that he's has the ability to be a playmaker for us. He's a guy that we've relied on over the last year or two, and I expect him to take on that leadership role and continue to do some of the things that we've seen that wide receiver room do in this system.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.